Hey everyone, welcome back to some more Revolution Custom Standard. We've got a league match here in advance of today's planned GP recording. We've got DrChipmunk facing off here against AllWhoWander, or Phoenix Star, as their Cockatrice handle is. Funnily enough, looks like there's a little bit of a promo chasing going on. So for those of you who don't know, there are ways of earning promos in Revolution Custom Standard, as long as you have a certain amount of copies of them in your deck. And I believe the deck needs to get at least a 4-1. They unlock a promotional version of that card. So pretty cool stuff all around. We're going to do a quick go through on the cards in hands, and after that we'll just follow along with some gameplay. Looks like we started off with a Phoenix's Touch. We've seen this card quite a bit this month as a pretty cheap first drop, discard, lose a life, and then of course you can sack it for some cards, and it costs you a life, but honestly it's a lot of value in a very small package. Stark Expanse and another Plains here rounds out the lands here for AllWhoWander. Exorcist of Errors, probably what we're going to be seeing next turn. A fantastic card, especially early when your opponent's got a lot of cards in hand. Lets you take plenty of things temporarily. Swift Reproach's removal. Containment Seraph is a new card to me. I haven't seen this card being played, I think, before. It's a 2-1 for 3 flying. When it enters, you can exile up to one target non-token creature you don't control. And when it leaves, my gosh, the hand's just moving so fast here. When it leaves, the exiled card's owner gets to draw X cards and gain X life, where X was half that card's mana value rounded up. Alright, cool. A lot of cards like this flying around Magic lately, so it's nice to see another version of that kind of effect, and an Omen of Slaughter as removal. Over on DrChipmunk's side, while they figure out how they're going to resolve the Exorcist of Errors, little Factor Fiction question here. We've got some early Ignited Souls here using the foil promotional that was opened, by DrChipmunk, which I assume would have been last month or a couple months ago. I don't remember exactly when this card was unlocked. It's been quite a bit. Looks like Weft Dancer and Aphani's Reveler being shown, and instead hiding in their hand a bunch of lands and the Agent of Deception. So Agent of Deception is going to be the card that's going to get taken, because Exorcist of Errors can't take lands. There's a little bit of a fun mind game here where, if your hand is full of land and you just reveal like one card and they go for your hand, you can actually cause them to whiff, which is quite fun. So while the card's been really good, especially as like a 2-3 for 2, there's definitely moments where Exorcist of Errors just does not hit things. No, but like, other than that, Ignited Soul is going to do some work here, right? Combat damage, discard cards, draw cards. Weft Dancer's cool. It's a really nice take on essentially a reanimate spell, where it's a 4-3 flying with ward, discard a card as a base, and then you can have it enter as a creature card in your graveyard, not named Weft Dancer, but it gains flying and has ward, discard a card. So it's your best creature with evasion and protection. Great stuff all around. Aphani's Reveler as well, really easily able to fill up the graveyard. Your opponent's graveyard, as a 1-2 menace. The opponent has to mill 2 cards whenever it attacks, and then if ever they get to 8 cards in the graveyard, which will happen naturally as cards get played and cards get milled and lands get cracked, eventually this will turn into a 3/3 lifelink on the attack, which is, and menace, which is a great, piece of stat line. Exorcist of Errors is going to put a little pressure here. 2 power, not really contested by what's on the board right now, especially not with Ignited Soul being tapped. And with 3 mana, here's the Containment Seraph follow-up. Probably going to take the Ignited Soul. You kind of want to stop your opponent from digging around. You know that your opponent's hand is full of land. So having the Reveler up and then a bunch of enigmatic Fens is unlikely to be what DrChipmunk needs to succeed here. Well, I mean, it's got Menace, so at least it can keep attacking. I'm going to start the mill plan. So it's going to be 2 cards from AllWhoWander. I'm going to put AllWhoWander at 3. There goes a land and a Path of Phoenix. And then just chips in for 1 damage. Might as well play out those tapped lands. Going to slowly get up to 5 to play out that Weft Dancer. Hopefully you can get some other stuff before that. A lot of pressure is going to be put here. 2 in the air, 2 on the ground. If you're chipping in with your Aphani Reveler, you're not blocking with it. Leaving mana open, so 3 mana could be Swift Reproach, could be Omen of Slaughter, or could also just be cracking Phoenix's Touch if AllWhoWander gets the opportunity. So 2 cards milled in, looks like a Revolt at the Palace, followed by a 3rd copy here of Omen of Slaughter. Still not the 8 necessary for Afanai to start healing back up. So nothing got played. Looks like it's Phoenix's Touch is time to get cracked to draw a card. Swamp isn't honestly horrible here. I mean, Omens of Slaughter's like having 5 open mana, right? As does Cliffwalker, right? So quite a cool card here. Lets you return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. And then Wander is 1 and a white. You can cast it from the battlefield for its Wander cost. So you can keep re-getting the value off of your cards here. Again, Hand of Land. Not exactly where we want to be here for DrChipmunk. At least the clock isn't egregious, only taking 4 a turn. We're at 6, so if this Afanai Reveler gets to attack, it will go to +2/+1 lifelink, so that will kind of undo the clock. So I'm assuming what we're going to see is a Omen of Slaughter here, I would imagine. Yeah. Feels like you might want to keep Swift Reproach as a premium removal for some more gross things, especially stuff you don't want to hit the yard. But yeah, Omen of Slaughter doing some work here. And then there's still mana for either of the other pieces, or just cracking it to Scry 2. So, Underflow Error. Okay, so it's a 9/8, so yeah, I can definitely see why we're running this and Weft Dancer, right? Being able to get a 9/8 flying ward is very reasonable, but turn gets passed over, means Omen of Slaughter can just get cracked, and it's incidental, but like Scry 2 does a lot for just keeping the cards you don't want away and keeping the cards you do want lying around. Alright, the damage keeps going in, but yeah, start of combat is going to be the Underflow Error to discard, tap, and then draw a card. I mean, by keeping a lot of cards in hand, I mean, there's a lot of removal here in this hand. And it's funny that your enter the battlefield value is also removal. There's a lot of stuff here. There's Preemption Daemon, 2/2 flash flyer. When it enters, you can exile a spell or non-land permanent. Its owner can cast it back by paying 3 rather than its mana cost, so quite interesting. Quite a fun card. I'm assuming here we're tapping 5. This is going to be Weft Dancer for Underflow. And of course, it enters the battlefield as a copy, right? So there we go. It's got Ward discard a card, but like, again, Omen of Slaughter, right? That's so good. The fact that it doesn't target just gets around that 2-for-1. Not that Swift Reproach wouldn't have been able to deal with it, or same as a Sealing Strike. There's like a lot of opportunities here, but you know, might as well use these Omens when you got them. Here's a Gates to the Underworld activation. We're up to 3, and that's enough, right? So, of course, this is League. We don't have access to players' sideboards, so we're just going to pause the recording until the players are ready for Game 2, and we'll see you back then in just a minute. All right, looks like we're back here in Game 2. DrChipmunk is going to be on the play here. I mean, judging by the list, this is essentially what I believe PTM is piloting out there, or at least something very similar. The agents, the Weft... No, hold up. Was PTM on Weft Dancer? No, I'm forgetting. I don't know. PTM wasn't on Weft Dancer, but there's a lot of similarities. The Ignited Souls, the Revelers, the Agents, Preemption Daemon. Okay, so there's some differences. So it looks like it's mostly that with a Weft Dancer shell or package added on top of it. Good to know. So yeah, early Afanai's Reveler uncontested is quite nice here. Going to be able to start the mill clock. Tap Gates of the Underworld, nothing to play early here. Temple of Origins, Primal Fissure, some lands. But then, of course, Containment Seraph, Swift Reproach, and Revolt at the Palace is quite cool. We didn't get a chance to see it in play last game, but we did get a chance to see it hit the bin off of an Afanai Reveler mill. It's look at the top 6 cards of your library, up to 1 non-land permanent card with mana value 3 or less onto the battlefield. You'll do it a second time. And then on the third time, creatures you control will gain double strike. And it has Time Loop. So once the creatures gain double strike, it'll start looping back again from the top. So it's, I believe, the white version of Shigane Manor Burns. Of course, that one has seen like ubiquitous amount of play. Lots of decks are using it. The fact that it's like a 2 mana time loop is really good. This is a 5 mana time loop, so by the time you're getting to it, the chances of it fully cycling are a lot lower, but the effects are quite strong. Lots of Cliffwalkers in hand here. I'll be honest, it's really, really funny, but I think I've seen this art before somewhere, so I know it's from Oldun, but pretty sure this is like a fantasy Batman alternate art, so just something kind of funny here. Yeah, honestly, I think that would be my guess. You know, Batman as a knight. You can just look at the helmet here. Kind of funny. All right, well, Aphonai is doing some work. Agent of Deception is also doing some work here at keeping the Containment Seraph away. Agent of Deception, a card that I'm like intimately familiar with as a Merfolk player over in MSCM. It's a card that appears in a set in that format as well. And yeah, against the deck that's using a lot of creatures, Agent Deceptions will hit a lot of stuff. Or Planeswalkers, of course. And of course, the more you play them, your devotion gets higher, but usually even taxing by a 1 or a 2 is enough. And then, you know, having a few bodies on the board is not nothing. Already at 11 cards here off the counterspells, the mills, and everything. So these Aphonai Revelers are going to start really changing up the math here. So when you get a board that's like wide like this is where Omen of Slaughter, I think, falls off quite a bit. Forcing your opponent to sacrifice means they're just going to chump out these Agent of Deceptions. You're not going to hit a Reveler off of it, and it kind of feels bad to throw out Swift Reproaches on them, but sometimes you gotta. Like, it's a 1-drop that's actually turning into essentially a 3-drop of value, so they're not horrible cards. So here goes Revolt at the Palace. Hopefully we find something. We do find something. It's going to be Cliffwalker is going to rescue Revolt at the Palace. Must have like shift clicked here because dragged itself to the hand as well. Okay, so getting a land. All right. If you have no lands in hand, that's an acceptable thing to do with Cliffwalker. The fact that it's a 3/4 for 3, not horrible. It's like a bigger body for what it does. It definitely lets you reset, though, your Omens of Slaughter. That's where they're going to get a little stronger. But it's still a lot of mana, right? It's 1 and a white, which returns a permanent you control, and then you have to pay it again. So it's like 4 mana as a loop. Omen of Slaughter is not going to hit Scrapyard Mecha, so that's something to keep in mind. With the Cliffwalker here, the mills happen first, so these go up to 3/3 lifelink menaces, so they can't be blocked. So we're going to start blocking and chumping these Agents of Deception here. So that's 6 life gained, a bunch of damage dealt, 3 creatures dealt damage, so Scrapyard Mecha is going to allow DrChipmunk here to draw, I believe it's 3 cards and then discard 1. Yeah, because it's the amount of creatures, number of creatures. Honestly, the discard's quite good. It's the kind of card that, you know, you want to discard, so looks like Privilege Escalation was discarded. This is one of the really big errors. So it's 8 black for an 11/13 menace. When it enters, for each non-land permanent your opponent controls, they have to sacrifice it unless they paid life equal to 2 plus its mana value. I could be absolutely wrong, but I believe the errors... Okay, I could be wrong. I feel there has to be at least a 9/8 somewhere in the game, but it could be that the errors are using power and toughness combinations that haven't existed or haven't existed on the color or the cost. I'd have to check with the set's designer, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of the idea behind these errors, right? So they all have, I think it's something error as a name, right? It's underflow error. Or no, that's not true. I'm just completely wrong. Privilege they always have the underscore. They always have the underscore. Privilege underscore escalation. All right, so back on this side, Exorcist of Errors here. DrChipmunk is going to play the Fact or Fiction game. And then there's going to be some thinking to be done. Revolt of the Palace is going to keep getting you value. So if you can land the other one, that would be great off of the plains. Like, it's nice that Revolt's just pulling these cards. And, like, digging 6 is pretty much what you want. Even though it can't hit lands, you're usually going to find something decent. So there's the piles. It's a face-up Preemption Daemon, and then a bunch of stuff in the hand. I mean, it's unlikely your opponent has 4 lands in hand, so I would imagine you go for the 4 cards, unless you really don't want your opponent to have Preemption Daemon, I guess. But yeah, hand just seems to have a lot more ideas here. I mean, Weft Dancer is the only way these big errors are coming back, right? So taking the Weft Dancers probably isn't horrible. Underflow error taps things. Okay, nope, looks like we're going with the underflow error. I guess don't want to put the tap. Yeah, I can see that. It's a pretty cheap way of tapping down your board and oh, you know what? No, of course it's the obvious play. AllWhoWander is at 2. I hadn't realized that the life total was so low off of these hits. That's going to make a big difference. Because, yeah, the 2 underflow errors in hand could have been tap down 2 creatures, swing for lethal. So, with 2 creatures up, at least as blockers, I mean, honestly, you got to put some more stuff out. Because these Aphanai Revelers have Menace. So, the lifelink also doing so much work. Like, you could let your opponent swing in forever before you even have to matter. Scrapyard Mecha really only needs 1 more body. Yeah, honestly, not looking good. Like, Omen, right, clears 1/2. You're probably going to leave an Aphanai Reveler, right? And that gives you 1 mana to play with. It's not really anything. Instead, you could throw out Omen of Slaughter followed by a Swift Approach to get rid of the Aphanai. That way you guarantee that these 2 are gone. The 1/1 is unlikely to crew the Scrapyard Mecha. You have 2 creatures up. This doesn't have evasion, neither does the agent. Your opponent doesn't have the 5th mana for the Weft Dancers in hand. You know there's a Preemption Daemon, so you know you can get rid of at least 1 blocker. Same thing if you discard Underflow Error. Like, Weft Dancer would be scary, obviously, because if Weft Dancer comes down off of 5, right, that's privilege escalation. And then your opponent has to sacrifice everything because Phoenix, AllWhoWander can't pay for the 2 life. So there's Omen of Slaughter. Oh, I mean, I was wrong anyway. Sorry. It's your opponent's always going to have at least 1 Aphanai Reveler because that first Omen of Slaughter always hits the agent. So. All right. I mean, that 5th land is just it, right? Because the Enter the Battlefield effect is going to be strong enough to wipe the board. I mean, that's what I would go for. Yeah. There's no counter spells here. And privilege is just non-land permanents your opponent's control. So, you know. Yeah, that's GG here. Been way too much life. All right, hey, very different match here. Quite interesting, honestly. And it means we're going to go back to pausing just temporarily, give our players a chance to sideboard or re-sideboard, and we'll be back momentarily, I'm sure. All right, and I wasn't wrong. We're back pretty quickly here. Some opening hands. What do we got? Lurking Vrykalakas. Good as able to hit the graveyard, and it's from a graveyard, so nothing says you can't start shredding your graveyard a little if your opponent really wants to get those Revelers up. Data Weaver is a fantastic card. Integrates your opponent's stuff, and then you can keep playing their cards. And then Swift Approach and Double Omen of Slaughter is just plenty of removal. Over on DrChipmunk's side, we have quite a different opener, actually. Some lands here in Swamp Island. Chronicles for sweeping the board. Agent of Deception. Promo version to counterspell, an early Syscall to draw some cards. So this is a subroutine. It goes into programs, so A, B, and C, and then yeah, you're gonna see them get brought up here. Absolutely love this cycle. It's so fun, or not a cycle, but this mechanic. So Syscall is here under program A. Or nope. Okay, looks like we're going for B. Okay, that makes sense. It's really fun to try and like calculate the math on Syscall. Like, do you put it really early and just draw a card? Do you put it later, let yourself get to a turn? And it's such an early like 1 mana that sometimes you can just feed it into your program systems, and every 3 turns, you figure out if you want to fire or not, or you can just fire and forget. So we're gonna be at A. I'm guessing there's gonna be a way to indicate. I mean, there we go. Second land here. We got some of like the big ones in Underflow Error and Privilege Escalation. So yeah, definitely not the same list as PTM. Just has the same sort of early shell that PTM does. But yeah, there's Agent of Deception, countering the Data Weaver. Can't really pay 2, but the Lurking of Reikalakis is going to make sure that it gets pretty big. A non-land card was exiled, so it grows into a 3/3. If ever you get a land card, it gains lifelink. So, Aphanai Reveler and it do pretty good buddy-buddy impressions. Here's the gorgeous Sleek's Island. Looks like we're playing with lots of different basic lands here. That's quite pretty. I wonder which one I like most. This one's really pretty. But honestly, Cliques is just gorgeous. Definitely not what your regular looking island, but at that point, we know anything blue that looks blue can be an island. So it looks like we fired off a big Syscall here where X is equal to 2. So, late divination, and then later we'll be able to do a little more. Omen of Slaughter here on the main, clearing the way, which means Lurking Reikalakis can then exile it and grow to a 4/4, and that's actually quite a lot of pressure here. This thing's going to start getting to be pretty big. It's definitely out of range of the sweep, but definitely not out of the range of the sacrifice mode, which is probably going to happen sooner or later. It looks like later. The only card here is Temple of Origins as a land, and that's going to enter tapped, unfortunately. So... So no Chronicle this turn. Another 4 damage is not nothing, but I imagine we're going to see some, at least a blocker or 2. So Ignited Soul comes out, and with 2 mana open, that's a Underflow Error. So, all right, Swift Reproach. Looks like AllWhoWander is saying you're not landing any creature here on the board. I'm using my mana efficiently. Okay, well, I would imagine we're going to see Underflow Error at start of combat. Yep. Keep a tap down for a turn is important. You get to draw a card is also pretty good. Digging for those Weft Dancers here. Still, a lot of good stuff in the hand. I mean, Chronicle of Extinction hand is neat, but... you probably at least want to use something. Oh, well, there's Hang. Never mind. Drew into a Hang is quite nice. Because it's got... but we're missing a permanent with mana value 3. Syscall is only 1. Okay, that might be a little harder to use here. Hang definitely feels neat, though, with these really big errors, because you're always going to control a permanent with greater mana value than Hang if you get something big in there. There's no real way to land a 3 easily. I mean, we can land a 4 in Preemption Daemon, right? Could exile the Lurking Reikalakis and reset it, and it would cost 3 to replay. It's got Flash. You can even hold it up till your opponent's turn. The one thing is you don't want to give your opponent a chance to hit your Underflow Error, I would imagine. So at start of combat, you're going to Preemption Daemon, I would imagine. Alright, so here's start of combat. Yep, makes sense to see it now. I mean, yes. I would have done that. Like, there's a thing where you just let it get exiled to get bigger, and then you eat it, so the future one doesn't get anything, but really doesn't make a huge difference. So, bird is the word here. Lurking Reikalakis, gonna get exiled. Looks like we're getting an in response to the trigger, though. I'm assuming Swift or Omen. Yep. The enter to the battlefield is still going to happen, but at least the 2/2 will not be on the board. So Lurking is exiled, and for 3, we're going to cast it back. So, looks like we're going with the Cliffwalker first and going to rescue the Omen of Slaughter, leaving Lurking Vrykalakas out there. It's for as long as it remains exiled, so doesn't have to spend the mana right away. Okay, so Syscall here. Not sure there's a lot. I mean, your hand is full, right? You've used one Syscall. I think you have to instead go for some onboard stuff here, or else things are just gonna. Never mind. Okay, we're digging big, digging big. Got so many cards. I mean, if you don't feel super pressured, I guess. Yeah. Oh, well, hold up. Because, yeah, I mean, that could be a Revel or a Soul, right? But you know your opponent's got an Omen of Slaughter in hand. So whatever you're playing is getting slaughtered. Because that's like the loop now, right? With 4 mana, Cliffwalker swings for 3. Yeah, so there, anyway. Hang, power 3 or less. I like that too. I mean, it's going to be a Viking Lurk. I was about to say Viking Lurkalakis. That's absolutely not this creature's name. Lurking Vrykalakas. All the removal in the world in hand here. Alternative art. I'm really butchering my words. I am so sorry, y'all. Alternative art, Chronicle of Extinction. I really like this art. It's perfect. The card is so good, by the way. It's absolutely absurd that like a board sweeper also gets to threaten the hand, because your opponent has no safe place, and then it also exiles their graveyard. So yeah, nowhere is safe. And if by God your opponent gets to 9 mana, you're just crying. There's Ignited Soul. I'm going to start binning things that DrChipmunk doesn't need. Trying to eat out these Omens of Slaughter. Knows that there's no more Cliffwalkers, so as soon as they get used, there's a high chance that that's all there is. Of course, we know that there's 1 and now 2 Swift Approaches still in the hand. Alright, looks like we're going to attacks. Preemption Daemon's going to do a very, very similar play as the last time. So Lurking Vrykalakas gets shunted into the exile zone. Looks like, I would imagine you use a Swift at this point. Yeah. Keep those out of the yard. Main 2, cast Lurking Vrykalakas. There you go. Your opponent's not dropping anything. You can't Omen or Swift Approach on your next turn, I think. Exorcist of Errors isn't bad here, though. And we're almost back to Syscall again. It's really wild how fast this goes. Life total's getting not extremely low, but like slightly low, right? 11 is not the safest place. All right. So Chronicle hits the discard is quite nice, especially because your opponent then has to exile their graveyard. Like, not necessarily what you want when you're running Aphanize Reveler, but like, it's better than nothing. Alright, well, speaking of the Reveler's out. Not particularly what you wanted, but the nice part is you got an Omen of Slaughter that can be cashed in. Attack. Do you have any creatures in here? Yep, there's an Underflow Error. Yep. I mean, that was going to go eventually. 3/3 is pretty good. You're definitely not chumming with that Aphanize Reveler, right? Oh, true. Gates of the Underworld is a creature. No blocks were declared, so it's okay to move back, I believe. And it's a 3/4 with lifelings. That's quite relevant. So yeah, swinging for 6. That's a bigger clock here. Down to 5. Your opponent's not likely to get up to... it's so funny how the life totals are so different from match to match. Like, that last game was just, you know, huge things. I mean, plenty of options as we move into Syscall. like, the card's great. Like, you're definitely drawing a lot of cards. It's just not always easy to convert all of that into resources. But so far, DrChipmunk has been doing a pretty good job of that. You've got 6. Like, the interesting... Yeah, obviously, like, you lose out if you don't do it all in one big batch, but it doesn't just say do it once, right? It's only if it ran this turn. So technically, you could chip in little by little. I mean, obviously, don't do that. Like, if you can, just, you know, sink a bigger X so you don't keep having to pay the blue, but good to keep in mind. All right, well, there's Chronicle. Sack mode makes sense. Up to 6 lands. Still needs 3 more to get to the big one, but there's another Chronicle of Extinction in hand, so yeah, slowly starting the mill plan. Well, Containment Seraph's actually quite good here. Gates just hits so hard though. All right, there's Underflow, tap it. Slowly running out of juice though that can hit. That Gates is just going to be really close to finishing you off at one point. Moving over to program C, gotta get to 10 mana for privilege escalation, so we're not close to casting these big things quite yet. Alright, a little bit of mill. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we play out, like, kind of go wide here, kind of get some bodies on the board. Exorcist of Errors will at least hit that Containment Seraph, and then... I mean, you even have the mana to play out another Reveler and hold up Agent of Deception, so, yeah. Yep, that's what I figured. You've got stuff that can block. Alright. I mean, if you're just animating this, right? So it's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it really is just your turn. I mean, it's putting pressure, and it's got lifelink, so either your opponent chump blocks or lets themselves get low, or, you know, there's Agent, so Agent's going to play block here, flash blocker. 3 life up. AllWhoWander's back up to 22. Tap Stark Expanse means we're getting closer to eventually catching in that Omen of Slaughter on top of Gates of the Underworld. Well, there's a big one here in Weft Dancer, but yeah, definitely do your attack first. Mill out a bunch of cards. 1, 2, 3, 4 puts you at a Aphanai Reveler size, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage, and then gained 6 life here. That's a lot of breathing room. There's a Weft Dancer. Coming in late, but coming in great, honestly. As a copy of Underflow Error, it's a 9/8, beginning of your each opponent's upkeep. Tap target creature that player controls. Not going to be able to tap down the Gates of the Underworld, though, but who cares when you have a 9/8 Flying Ward discard a card. Your Gates is no longer getting through that, and yeah. That was just a really good card, and with no removal. I mean, I think before you go to your draw, you crack it to scry, try and find a piece of removal, but yeah, good games. And I think we're only... Oh, there's only 1 card in hand, so the Ward discard a card would have fluffed it up there. So yeah, great games, great plays. We're going to be going into the GP match in just 15 minutes on my end, so I'll be uploading this to YouTube as we speak. So thanks for staying by, tuning in. It's always nice to be able to provide more Revolution content. So take care and see you soon.